Hello and greetings fellow StarCrafters, PGL Mildcraft here with a small tutorial here, starting with the challenges from the campaign. Now this is the first challenge and it's a micro challenge. What you have to do is divide your forces. You have 3 different areas, and it's 3 supply depots actually that you have to defend. And you have enemies in each of these areas that you have to learn to fight against. And the question is how you divide your forces. We have Hellions here. These Hellions are good against light units and they're very fast too. Siege tanks have long range of fire, so they're useful as well. And then Marines have quick fire and they have stim available. We see Zerglings here, which are light units, so we're going to go ahead and put the Hellions against them. We also see that we can put the Marines down here against the Mutalisks, because Marines fire very quickly and deal a lot of damage. Mutalisks don't have any armor, so Marines are quite good against dealing with Mutalisks. We'll also put the Medivacs with them. The main reason is that Marine special ability Stim costs 10 health, and the Medivacs will allow them to be healed. And then meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and just place the Siege Tank against these Banelings. And the reason for that is, if you siege up the Siege Tank, they have a really long range and they deal splash damage. Meanwhile, the Ghost has this ability called Snipe, which deals 45 damage, which is enough to one-shot these Banelings. So actually, if you really want to micro well, I can go ahead and demonstrate this. The Siege Tank alone will pretty much do the job, especially if you put it out front, because it'll absorb the other Banelings. But in this particular scenario, I'll actually see if I can snipe all 8 of the Banelings. We'll see if that happens, and we'll go ahead and begin. Now we're going to go through each of these different scenarios. It gives you a chance to kind of set up. So we're going to go ahead and run the Hellions up. You're going to fire, then you want to run away. Press H for hold position to let all your Hellions fire, then press H again. And you're just going to keep running and deal as much damage as possible. Now in order to get gold, you need to lose as few units as possible. So that's why you want to run away. So we're going to see what I can do with the Ghost here. R is the hotkey for snipe, and you can see the range of the sniper around here. And if you just hold shift, you can actually snipe all of them in a row, and the Ghost will do it. Didn't get to that last one. Unfortunately, he snipes too slowly. And then I'm actually going to stim early so that the Medivacs can start healing. Now, this might not have been a good idea. And go ahead and micro the hurt Marines backwards. We did in fact lose 3 Marines, but that's still enough for... well, it depends. I believe all... Yeah, here we go. I need 10 units or less total lost. This round I have Marauders. Those are good against armored units. I have Marines, again, and then I have more Siege Tanks. We are facing Roaches right here, which are in fact armored, so we can go ahead and put... we can go ahead and put the Marauders up against them. They'll do a really good job. These Hydros here are relatively slow moving, but deal a lot of damage, so we can put the Siege Tanks against them. And then last we have an Ultralisk. Now the Ultralisk is a little bit tricky. We can actually try a little bit of everything. We're going to take a couple of these Marauders too. And the reason for that, and we can go ahead and put the Ghost up front. The reason for that is you could basically just micro against him. What you do is you just stim and then run away, and then keep firing at him. So these look like a pretty good split. I'm going to go ahead and set up my Siege Tanks. Now, you want to try to fan out your units so that you have the best spread, so that the most amount of your units can fire at your opponents at once. I'm going to stim, fire, then run away. And the reason I run away is because the Roaches have actually less range. Oh, I lost that Marauder. Roaches have a shorter range, so you want to try to keep as much distance between you two as possible. In this case, I'm going to snipe the Ultralisk as many times as possible again, and I'm also going to stim these guys again. I'm going to put the Ghost out front because he does splash damage, And I'm going to snipe as many times as I can, because sniping deals 45 damage with each shot and ignores that ultraless high armor. And then these siege tanks, I might lose a couple actually, but they'll deal a lot of damage to these hydralisks to just take them out. Because the hydralisks, when they're not on creep, move pretty slowly, and siege tanks do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, they don't do their full 50 damage. They only do 30. Oh, they do 50 because it's under the old settings. Oh, come on! Save it! Unfortunately, took 4 losses. And then we've only got 1 more round left. So I got to be careful this time not to lose any forces. We see Mutalisks here. We see Brood Lords here. Brood Lords shoot little Broodlings, which are ground units, and then we've got Zerglings on the bottom. And then over here we have Hydralisks and Roaches, which is a very common Zerg weapon. Now, note that our only we only have 2 anti-air units here, and then the Ghost. But we have Thors, and then we have Vikings. Now, Thors do bonus damage with their missile launchers to flying units, or to light units, sorry. And Mutalisks are light, so we're going to go ahead and put the Thors down here against the light units. Meanwhile, we have Zerglings up here again, so we can go ahead and put the Hellions up here to deal with the Zerglings. We can send the Vikings up here as well, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to keep the Hellions back and then put the Vikings up front, because Broodlords cannot hit air units, and neither can Zerglings, obviously, since they don't have anything. So you can go ahead and have the Vikings shoot down all the Broodlords, and then have the Hellions take out the Zerglings, so you don't take any damage from the Broodlords to the Vikings. And here we're going to put everything else, because there's really no harm in it. Because siege tanks are quite effective against Zerg units, especially since these are probably Roaches without speed. So we're going to put the siege tanks in as much of a line as possible, and then we're going to go ahead and put the rest of the forces up front. Yes, sir. And actually, I'm probably just going to move the Ghost up front and cloak him, and have him snipe as many, do as much damage to the Hydralisks as he can. And hopefully I'll lose 3 or less units so that we can, alright. Let's get into the fight. So I want to send the Vikings right away to deal with the Broodlords. Meanwhile, the Broodlords are going to try to move forward and attack my Hellions, but I'm not going to get close enough to let them. I'm just going to have the Vikings deal with them, while very little micro is needed in order to deal with the Zerglings. I'll go ahead and stim and run away, and actually if you want to, if you're pretty good at micromanagement, you can just go ahead and run them into the medevac and then drop them off again. And that was without any, ooh, I wonder what that loss was from. And I shouldn't be losing any units here. These Thors are quite good against Mutalisks, especially since Mutalisks tend to bunch up when they're attacking units. And Thors do splash damage with their missiles. So the Mutalisks are going to group up. I'm actually going to focus fire the ones in the middle to deal the most damage as possible. And I'm going to see if I can run away with this Thor to stop him from attacking, and it works. And it looks like we're not going to lose any Thors here. Uh-oh. Except for maybe this one. No, it looks like we'll be okay. And just 2 Mutalisks left, and they're going to go ahead and get missiled to death. And I already got the award. But I was a success, and so the challenge was successful. I got the gold, or I got well enough to get the gold, and we can move on to the next demonstration challenge. Thanks for watching. PGO Milncraft signing off. Oh, I guess I should show the victory screen here. I didn't have to retry any of these because I got them all, but it lets you retry individual ones if you do too much on one of the rounds, and you need to try it again. But we'll see if we can have any more challenge demonstrations going through.